married, but his wife wasn't taking very good care of him. So just needed to have somebody that was monitoring how he was being taken care of.
When you say his wife, you don't say my mother, so I take it...
My parents have been divorced. Interestingly enough, my mom, who lives right around the corner from me, would come over and help take care of my dad. So it's kind
ironic.
Yeah, but they're loving people. They just couldn't stay married, I guess.
Where was he living before he moved in with you?
He lived with his wife.
I understand.
In their house.
I mean, where?
In Bakersfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have patients come in and they'll say, I had back surgery. And I said, oh, really? Where was it done? And they go,
right here.
So,
it's perception. It's perception, sir.
I'm not unfamiliar with this. Sometimes I have to ask questions about it.
Yeah.
What were the nature of his health issues?
So he fell at work back in 2011, 25 feet. And hit his head. So he was in a coma. And had, some pretty substantial physical injuries from the fall. And so he was in a coma for 7 weeks. And then, so when he came out of the coma, he had symptomology that would be similar to what you'd see with like a stroke patient.
Mm.
So he had some traumatic brain injury, to the right side of his brain, and it created some issues with his motor skills on his left side of his body.
Was he able to care for himself, or did he need someone?
He could. For the most part, he could care for himself. Interesting thing, the things that he couldn't do were his memory wasn't always that great. It was kind of shady. He would forget words and stuff like that, colors.
So he always needed someone. He couldn't handle his own finances, or
I managed his finances for him, and I managed his medication, his appointments. But cooking, he cooked food, and oftentimes would pick my boys up from school and stuff like that.
So you've been managing his finances since 2011, or since he started living with you?
No, since he came to live with me. In a sense that, and I just make sure that his medical bills and stuff were taken care of and paid. He didn't really have finances. I mean, he lived with me.
So when you were off working, was he able to stay by himself?
Yeah, he stayed by himself.
I mean, he wasn't a danger. He wouldn't wander off. Start a fire.
No, he drove and all that stuff.
He drove?
Yeah. He drove. He had a license. I know.
Did you feel comfortable with him driving?
He was on my insurance, sir. I had to pay.
No, I'm not asking that. That's a whole different issue.
I know. Did I feel comfortable with him driving?
Yeah.
I monitored his driving. I'm a law enforcement officer, so I monitored it, and if I felt like he was a danger, I wouldn't have let him out on the street. Uh-huh. But he, and the only thing that I could think that would be an issue for him, again, and because I can look at how he moves and his motor skills and stuff like that, how he walks, but I can't get into how he sees.
Right.
And I always had concerns about if that was an issue, his peripheral vision and that type of thing. Having said that, though, again, I monitored his driving, and I made sure. But in his mind, he thought he was fine, but his body just couldn't keep up with that, which is why he passed away 2 days ago.
So, what did he die of?
I assume it was a heart attack.
How old was he?
64.
Young man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When is the service?
Well, some of the messages I was just answering right there were in regard to that. So I have to go back. My brother and my mom have been taking care of everything. Mm-hmm. and my mom actually found him. She had tried to call him because he didn't show up to pick. He was going to pick my nephew up, I think, from school, and he didn't show up. So my mom tried to call him, and he didn't answer. So she went over to check on him and found him. She did CPR on him, but it wasn't. It was
Wow.
too late. But so it's once I get home, then we're gonna sit down and try to hash out what's gonna happen in terms of services.
Wow. I think, needless to say, you were close with your dad. You took care of him.
Yeah, lived with him every day for the last couple of years. Again, a blessing.
Do you cry during the day? I mean, it's hard to ask now because, yes, your dad just passed away. So.
Well, I cried. I cried the day, obviously, that when my brother called. See, I work in a secure place. I can't take my phone in. I work in a top secret area. And
You mean for the Coast Guard or for the
Coast Guard?
DA?
No, the DA's not, but for the Coast Guard. So I can't take my phone in.
I see.
So when I came out, I had a box full of stuff. I was helping another fellow officer carry some stuff out. And as I was walking down, my phone was ringing, and I was like, "What's going on?" And it was my mom, but I couldn't answer it in time. So I got down to the car and I opened it up, and it said 911, and I knew there was something going on. So I called her, and it was she told me that So I was upset. I wasn't upset right then at that moment. I think it hit me more when I got home, and I don't know. I mean, I say maybe it's normal stuff, Mm-hmm. I say normal because maybe I'm trying to normalize it in my mind, but I'm not trying to get a therapy session out of you or anything. But what I was going to allude to is that I'm not a big emotional cry type of guy. But I did cry when I got back because I felt like, dang, I knew eventually my dad was going to pass away because his health, not just a manifestation of the issues with the TBI, but also, just he had to take high blood pressure medication, and he only weighed 155 pounds. He was my size when he got hurt, and he had kind of shrunk down, and so he had a lot of health issues along with that, and I just thought, man, if nothing else, I just wish I'd have been there with him.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody should leave this world by themselves. And, I sat there and I handled a car crash one time, and there was an elderly lady, and she was passing. She was probably in her mid-70s, Car rolled over, she was trapped inside, and she was in and out of consciousness, and then went into agonal breathing, and the only thing I could do was just hold her hand. And I thought, at least she knows somebody's here with her.
Right.
And I thought, my dad was at home, fortunately, at home, and a lot of times he had a chair in his room in his bed, and he would watch TV in his room. He liked to hang out in his room. He had his channels all set up in there, so he would he was laying in his bed, when he passed away. My mom said it looked like he had eaten lunch and laid back and passed away.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Let me just get back in. Do any history of suicidal thoughts on your part or
Not at all.
attempts?
No.
How's your appetite been?
I eat a lot. I work out a lot, so I have to eat a lot of calories.
And how's your sleep been?
Well, for the past couple of days, I haven't been too good, but I struggled with sleep way back when this nonsense started with the school district, which was one of the reasons the doctor had given me medication. It's progressively gotten better, I think, as my stress level went down and my sleep patterns got better. I get up early and go to the gym and work out and run, but falling asleep and having restful sleep has been better.